Disposable masks, gloves, and other types of PPE are entering the natural world at an alarming rate. Though these plastic items are protecting the public against coronavirus, when wrongly discarded, they cause great ecological harm.
So we've seen an increase in rubbish affecting wildlife since lockdown. Since March, we've had to rescue over 900 animals who have been caught up in wildlife in various ways. And one of the ways that they're getting caught up is unfortunately through disposable masks. And it's particularly with birds who are finding that their feet are getting caught in the elastic bit. And it means that they literally can't move, they can't get away.
Troubling findings given that the UK is expecting an extra 66,000 tonnes of contaminated waste from face coverings alone this year, according to the Plastic Waste Innovation Hub.
PPE was used in quite managed situations, such as hospitals, for example. But now we've got a wider sector of society using it. One of the problems is communicating, well, how should you dispose of those items? And without that disposal information, it's not too surprising that we're seeing this unwanted accumulation as litter in the environment.
And it's not just PPE causing an issue during the pandemic.
We're seeing the return of single-use plastics everywhere. I think everyone will recognise in our cafes, in our shops, in all sorts of settings, we're seeing more and more single-use plastics come back onto the menu, which is something we need to challenge and stop so we can protect our ocean and the wider environment.
When PPE or other single-use plastics make their way into marine systems, they're often mistaken as food by sea creatures, putting them at severe risk of injury or death. And because the items don't biodegrade, they join the mass of plastic already accumulating in our oceans.
The large pieces of plastic, the entire shopping bags or other plastic bottles, they will degrade into smaller and smaller pieces of plastic. First into microplastics, but beyond that, they can even degrade into even tinier fragments called nanoplastics. And nanoplastics are so small that they can get really deep inside animals, inside their tissues, their organs. We have no idea really what the impact is of that, but it's probably not good.
We really are just at the tip of the iceberg in our understanding of how insidious plastic pollution is and how the long-term effects may be with us, not just for decades to come, but for centuries to come.
As the World Health Organization warns of a second wave of coronavirus throughout Europe, single-use plastics appear likely to stay with us in the interest of public health. And this trend is facilitated by crashing oil prices, which has made virgin plastic a cheaper option than recycled or alternative materials. Experts now worry that progress made in recent years against plastic pollution might be undone.
I really have a feeling that we're 6, 7, maybe 10 years back in time in terms of how we slowly moved for recycling, for reusing.
The challenge, of course, is going to be that the economy has been so challenged by the current pandemic that redesigning products for a reduced environmental footprint, I really worry, will unfortunately have fallen down the agenda compared to where we were before the pandemic.
Scientists and environmental groups are adamant that we must act now to counteract the rise in plastic waste, but that we can do so whilst keeping ourselves safe.
It's unavoidable that we will see more PPE in the waste stream. The question really is just to make sure that it ends up being disposed of appropriately in a managed facility, whether that's going to landfill or going to incineration, rather than it becoming litter.
So we would urge people, use reusable masks if you can, rather than this kind. And if you have to use disposable masks, then when you get rid of them, snip off the elastic bit at the end before you put them in the bin. And then you know that even if they do end up somewhere they shouldn't, birds aren't going to get caught up in the elastic, so it makes them safer.
Surfers Against Sewage go further and say they want the government to take a lead and ban disposable items in certain situations.
We would actually probably call for a ban on disposable masks in certain settings. The disposables probably have a place in our hospitals, in medical care and in other settings, but in people's day-to-day lives, to go to the supermarket, to go to the shops, to go out to a local cafe, all of those things should rely on reusables rather than disposables.
It seems that the influx in coronavirus PPE and single-use plastic, though enormous, is just another wave in the ongoing plastic storm waged against our natural environment. Now, more than ever, both individual action and strong leadership is needed to turn off the plastic tap.